Sir, recording is started.
Yes, yes, I have given a call to him. Okay, very good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Myself, Dr. Dharmesh Rai Kundalia, working as a faculty in a PG Department of Statistics, Sardar Patel University. And for your pre-PhD course, I'm going to take 6 sessions. And out of this section, the first session which I'm going to conduct over here is collection and organization of a data. Is the screen is visible to all of you?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
This presentation is specially prepared for the pre-PhD courseworks, and the coursework is organized by the UGC HRDC, Sardar Patel University. So there are two words are there: collection, organization of data. So what is the data? How the data are collected and how the data are organized. But before going to start, let us start with the one problem. Is pizza delivery efficient? Customer wants pizza delivered fast. So how the efficiency criteria is decided? The efficiency criteria is decided based on that the delivery should be fast. What the Domino's is giving the guarantee? Domino is giving the guarantee of 30 minutes or less. If you give the orders, they say that we will deliver the pizza within the 30 minutes. What if we measured the performance and found an average delivery time of 23.5 minutes? Of course, customers are happy because the delivery time is less than 30. But what I say that we have collected the information and find out the average delivery time, and that is the 23.5 minutes. On-time performance is great, right? Our customers must be happy with us, right? So using the voice of customer to measure the performance, we have collected the information and we identified that the data having this distribution. What is the data? That we had asked the person who has given the order to the Domino's and how many time is required to deliver the pizza. Someone say that within 5 minutes, someone say that 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and something like that. What is the critical to quality? The critical to quality is that 30 minutes. If the product is or the pizza is delivered within the 30 minutes, we say that the service is a quality service. And on average, we can see that the average value is at 23.5 minutes. So average value is less than the target value. What is the target value? It is about the 30 minutes. So by looking at this average value, we can say that on average, all the customers are happy, and we can say that the delivery of the pizza is efficient by the Domino's. But what about the customers who say that we have received the pizza after 30 minutes? So can you take the decision based on the average value? No, because there are some observation which is beyond the critical to quality, and it suggests that for this segment of the customers, the delivery is not efficient. So customers don't experience the average. Customers experience the variation. Customers not focusing on that what is the on average the time required to deliver the product. They are talking about what is the variation, whether the variation is of a 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, etc. So when you do the any kind of the study, the first thing is that you have to have a problem in your hand. And when you talk about the problem, that problem should be reasonable, reliable, and to address this particular problem, we need to proceed about the collection of the data. But now, in our case, you can say that what is the problem? The problem is that whether the pizza delivery is efficient or not. So this is the question raised by the company. We are saying that we are deliver the pizza within the 30 minutes. So we are the best among the all the pizza deliver company. But that you have to verify. So how to verify that? That has been verified by the collection of a data. So what kind of the data here they have collected? They have collected the information from the customers who has given the order to the Domino's. And what is your study variable? Your study variable is that amount of the time required to serve the customer. So that means time is a variable. That is the delivery time is a variable. How many minutes is required to deliver the pizza by the particular Domino's to the customer. So like you have collected the information from several customers who had delivered, who has given the order to the Domino's. So that data you have collected. Here the data is a delivery time. It is a quantitative data. So we have find out that what is the on average time, because the customer to quality is that, or critical to quality or customer to quality is that the product should be delivered within the 30 minutes. So now we wish to see that what percentage of the customers are getting the product or the pizza within the 30 minutes, what percentage are not getting in the 30 minutes, they require the beyond the 30 minutes. So then the question is that if the customer has received the before 30 minutes, Domino's is efficient for the pizza delivery. But there are the segment of the customers who do not have received. In that case, what we do? This is the problem is started. So now the research is started over here. See why the customers are not getting the pizza on time. What percentage of the peoples are like that? If suppose that 10% of the peoples are not getting the delivery of the pizza at the right time, what happen? They may create a problem to the company, because they will start marketing like that their delivery is not efficient. Like we can have the Amazon, Flipkart and others. And that is how Amazon came with the Prime, Amazon Prime. Why? Because you are looking the delivery at the fastest rate. And there are the group of the people who are looking the service at the faster rate with the some premium amount of the paying. That is the service amount they are paying. And that is how the new concept of the Amazon Prime came into the picture. Then later on they have started videos and other things are different things. Is that clear about this? What was the problem? How the problem is addressed? So here the average is not the issue, the variation is the issue. And that is how we always try to control the variation in any kind of a research, whether it is a whether it is a experimental research, whether it is a survey research, whether it is an observation study. We always try to see that the variation should be minimum and the response or the item should function at the target level. Well, so research and research methodology. Research is a careful investigation or inquiry, specifically search for new facts in any branch of knowledge. You may be from chemistry, you may be from a bioscience, you may be from computer science. So ultimately our idea is that we wish to search for a new fact where we are working, and it is an original contribution to the existing knowledge and making for its advancement. So whatever the fact information is with us, based on their careful investigation or inquiry, are we in that position to suggest something new? And if it's the case, it is a research. If you break the word research, it is nothing but this research. Already the things are there. You have to uncover. So research is nothing but the uncover the fact. Facts are there, but it is covered by the some layer. So we have to uncover. So when you deal about the research, every discipline has their standard research methodology. Experimental science has the different research methodology. Social science have their own different research methodology. if the people from the management science and they are doing the survey, they have the different research methodology. So research methodology is vary from discipline to discipline. It may be different for arts and humanity, etc. So I will try to focus the research methodology concept in general, where I am going to cover the methods of data collection as well as the organization of a data. So research methodology is the specific procedures or techniques used to identify, select, process, and analyze the information about the specific research problem. So in research methodology, you have some research problem. You identify the procedure to address this research problem, select it, process, and analyze it. That means for a specific research problem, you identify the specific research questions. And once identifying the research questions, you collect the data. And after collection of the data, you process the data, analyze the data, and coming out with the decision. So that decision should address your research problem. Sometimes what happens, we collect the informations of a different research problems and we analyze, and at the end of the study we come to know that whatever the research problem initially we have defined, actually this solution is not addressed to that problem. So it is very important that you should design your research properly. You take much time for the literature review rather than jumping into the direct research, so that the organization of a research will minimize your efforts. In research paper, the methodology section allows the readers to critically evaluate studies, overall validity and reliability. So whatever research papers you are reading, you should always focus that the methodology section methodology sections is always an important part of a research papers, because it will suggest how the research is conducted, on which environment it is conducted, what was the problem, how you address, what was the population size, what was the sample size, whether it is an experimental study, whether it is a survey based study. So everything is properly mentioned in the methodology section. So if the methodology section is written properly, there is a more chance to accept your research papers at the high quality journals. How methodologies differs between the literature and social or experimental science. So you are from the science group, but I will explain here again the things part. In literature, a social science or experimental science have the different approach. In literature, research findings are abstract, wherever they are concrete in the social science or experimental science. So in experimental science or social science, whatever the decisions we are giving is basically supported by the data. And in literature, it is not supported based on the data. It is purely abstract. It is a philosophical things that you have to discuss. In literature, methodology focuses on more reading and library work, or at most on live personality in the form of personal interviews. So you can look at the research in the literature. So it is mainly focusing on the who to go for the more resource reading, like they have to go for the more library work, and at most they can have the personal interviews, and around that they are developing their entire research and methodology. It is based on its rational and relevance. However, in a social science, it is based on the data or evidence. And at the end of the study, we have a concrete results about our hypothesis. So in a social science or experimental science, whatever the research we are doing, mainly that is based on the data supported. The research has the certain evidence, and that evidence is to address the specific hypothesis, and that hypothesis is nothing but associated with the specific research problem. There are various types of research are discussed in the literature: descriptive research versus analytical research. The surveys and the facts findings in investigation of distinct types come under descriptive research. So if you are talking about the survey kind of a research, so these are the example of a descriptive research. in analytical research, a researcher has to avail data which already exists and has to make an accurate evaluation. So analytical research is that the already data is available. Let us say when you talk about the data, so data is of a usually two types. That is of either a primary data and secondary data. So primary data is nothing but the data which is collected by the user or the researcher first time. So it's a purely first time collection data. Either it may be due to the experiment, it may be through the observation, or it may be through the survey. However, secondary data is somebody has collected the data and you are user of the data, then such data is said to be a secondary data. And when you do the analytical research, usually they are based on the secondary data. Then there is a applied research versus fundamental research. The objective of applied research are to search an answer for the difficulty which is facing a firm or a society. So suppose the corona is the issue. Okay, so the society is facing with the problem. Now how to tackle the economy under the situation of the corona. So these are all the problems related to the applied research. Due to the corona, now we are in the online mode. Then the computer scientists and the computer science people came into the picture, that how to help the society so that the teaching should not suffer and we can go with the online mode. So these are all the applied research in a what the smart way we can provide the facility. So that is how the Zoom and others, Zoom, Google Meet and these other platforms came into the picture. Now the Geo came with the platform. So likewise, these are all the applied research. Theories, formulation and interference of general principles with particulars are related to fundamental research. For example, the identification of a boson particles in a physics. Okay, so these are all said to be a fundamental research. If you talk about the relativity and the gravity and you give the some different method to measure this, so these are all said to be a fundamental research. The feature of collecting knowledge for the sake of knowledge is the best suited for the fundamental research. So I'm just giving the basic idea what are the difference between the applied research and fundamental, descriptive research and analytical research. Similarly, we have a quantitative research versus qualitative research. When your data is measured on a quantitative scale and when you do the analysis of the data and come out with some conclusion, so such research is said to be a quantitative research. However, if your questions or the information which you have collected, they are qualitative in nature, then you can say that the such research is said to be a qualitative research. So based on the nature of variable, the research is identified as a quantitative research or qualitative research. Then there is a conceptual research versus empirical research. The conceptual research is concerned with ideas and theories. So there is some concept behind that. However, empirical research is perfect when we have the proof which explain that few variables generated change on other variables in some way or other. For example, there are so many questions arise during this particular corona time, whether the temperature has the impact on the corona cases or not. Earlier, people are saying that the India does not have this problem because there is a more temperature in India compared to the European countries. But again, the research had taken place that no, the temperature does not affect on the corona cases. So likewise, when you have some proof are available, then based on that, you can suggest that if the temperature will be this, then the corona cases will be this. People have developed the research paper based on the time series analysis. Okay, given a time, if the number of cases, affected cases of the corona patients in India are this, what happened after 22 August? So people apply the time series analysis and then try to forecast what number of the cases are in the future. So these all are nothing but the empirical research. The empirical means the research which is supported by the data. There are also other types of research like longitudinal research. For example, in the pharmacy or the clinical domain, we talk about the research based on the time. For example, research based on the follow-up study. The patient has given the certain drugs, and what kind of the impact is observed after the 3 months or after the 6 months, whether the patient is recovered or not. So these are all associated with the longitudinal research. Then chemistry people, bioscience people, physics people are doing the experiment in the laboratory. So this is said to be a laboratory research, and this comes under the experimental research. Then simulation research, for example, computer science people will work on a simulation base. If the traffic at the certain crossing point will be this, then what will happen after the 1 hour, or what will happen after the 1 year, whether the traffic is remain the same or not. What should be the time of the signal they have to decide, so that at the crossing there will be a less number of the vehicle has to stop. So likewise, these are all the research they can perform through the simulation studies. Sometimes if the data is not available, they can do the research through the simulation by assuming that let us the data having the certain distribution like gamma distribution, waiting time of a vehicle at the traffic signal is a gamma, then what should be the expected waiting time is required. Even if you go to the bank, what is the expected waiting time of the customer to give the services. So sometimes through certain data, you can identify the population, and through that population, you can generate the more data. So this kind of the simulation research also takes place in the computer science, and we statistics people are doing also lots of simulation. Diagnostic research, whether the patient is cured or not, whether the particular test kit is appropriately working or not. So these are all associated with the diagnostic research. And historical research, if the certain events are happened, what was the reason for the certain events? For example, what is the impact of the gold and the silver on the history of the tribal people, history of the certain era of the history. So many things are there. These are associated with the historical research. So when you do the statistical analysis, or when you do the any kind of the research, you have to conduct the research with the systematically. See, I am giving this particularly based on the research associated with the survey, but most of the research which you are doing, somewhere it is covered in this particular 6 steps. So there are, if you wish to have a good research at the end of your PhD, then you should follow these 6 steps very systematically. It will help you a lot, and further it is minimizing your time of a research, because sometimes what happens, the problem definition is something and report preparation is different. So we have to be very careful while designing our research problem. So first step is problem definition. Once the problem is known to us, we'll have a systematic approach, that is called the development of approach to the problem. Once the approach is designed properly, you wish to go for the research design formulation, then you go for the fieldwork or data collection, data preparation, and the report preparation and presentation. So we will see these steps one by one in detail. So first, problem definition. It is saying good beginning, half work done. In a same manner, identification of appropriate research problem will finish your half of the research work. So literature review is highly important. One has to do extensive review of literature in area where one is interested to conduct research. If the right problem is identified by you, then your 50% job is done. Most of the time in research, most of the times we are having a waste of time. So that is associated of a identification of a correct problem. If we have not identified the correct problem, what happens? We start with the research, and when we reach at the half place, we identify that, the direction of our research is not appropriate. Why? Because the problems we have identified is not the correct, or somebody has already done that. Sometimes it has also happened. One has to do the extensive review of the literature. That is how it is very important. List out logical development of area. in a certain area what kind of the research are taking place, and in chronological order you have to return. This author has suggested this technique in this time duration, and another author has just modified these techniques under this time duration, and you can add or plug in your new concept in the modification of the technique. Then perhaps it is a logical development of a research in a specific area. Sometimes when we start our research, we are very enthusiastic, and we take the problems. Sometimes kind of a problem that whatever research we will do, it has the very nice output, and simultaneously, people will directly coming to us. But sometimes you should be very practical while selection of the research problem. You have to see that whether after the completion of my research, let us say after 5 years, whether that research has any relevance or significant contribution in that time period after 5 years. So that you have to also see. And if your research has the relevance after 5 years, then of course job issue is not the problem for you. You will have the better opportunity after completion of research. But if it is not relevant, then it is very difficult to get the good job at the good place. So what we can add in existing while selecting the problem, you have to see that several authors have done the certain kind of research in this segment. What kind of the things we can add in our existing research, which has the application in the project context as well as it has the validity for a future. So whatever research problems you identify or you select for your research work, you should also see that it has the relevance in the today's concept and it has the relevance for the future context. Then you can have the value of research. So once the problem is identified, you can proceed further. So I'm discussing this part based on the market research, because to understand the market research problem, it is very easy because everyone is watching the TV and advertisement and newspaper reading and other. So we see the several marketing strategies by the giant companies. Like you can say that the Reliance has started Jio, then they have given that free of cost. Okay, and then they have started that once they have captured the market, now they said that there will be the price of the data pack. Or if you wish to give a call to even Jio to Jio, you have to have a recharge within the 3 months. So something kind of the strategy they are changing. So initially they have started with the free, and once the market is captured, the strategies are changing. So in the similar fashion, you can easily understand any research problem. The first step of any marketing research project is to define the problem. So as what we discussed in the first step, that the problem definition is a very important part. In defining the problem, the researcher should take into account the purpose of study, the relevant background information. So what kind of the study they wish to do. So that purpose is in their hand. Then there should be relevant background information. That is what the others have done in that area, the information needed, and how it will be used in the decision making. Problem definition involves discussion with the decision makers. So how will you identify the problem? So of course you can discuss with your guide, because your guide has worked into your in the specific direction, so they can have a more knowledge in that domain. Perhaps you can come with the new topic where you can have the information, you are working in that area, and then you can have a discussion with the guide, because guide has the certain idea whether the certain things really work or not. So they will suggest you. In corporate, if this is a problem of a corporate, then we have to talk with the decision makers who are taking the decisions. We have to talk, we have to conduct the interviews. We have to deal with the industry experts, for example, for the development of the vaccine. Okay, so it is a multidisciplinary approach where we need a help of a social science people, where we need a help of a medical science people, pharmacy peoples, and of course industry. So and of course bioscience people to study what is the genetical behavior of the disease, and chemistry are always there. So we have a, while identifying the problems, we have a this all discussion with the different level of the people, including your guide. You have to discuss with the several other people so that you can come out with or you can refine your research problem. Sometimes you have to do the secondary data analysis. Suppose some data are available, then you have to do the secondary analysis, and then you can identify what the scenario is happening. For example, the government is collecting the data on the corona, and one of the institute from the UK suggested that if you do the lockdown has the positive impact to control the corona, and they have suggested the various segment of the lockdown. These are all experiment, and many government has adopted. Up to the lockdown, it may control. As soon as when you start unlock, of course, again it has spreading like anything. So based on the descriptive or based on the secondary data, they may come out with the decision what is the impact of the lockdown one or not. Should we need to increase the lockdown or not? How to support with the particular economic activity with the lockdown? The government has to come with the many packages. So likewise, when you deal with any problem, you should have a background knowledge. If you have the background knowledge, you can proceed appropriately. Once the problem is precisely defined, the research can be designed and conducted properly. Is there any any doubt about the problem definition? Anyone? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So please respond.
Yes, sir.
sir.
No
Yeah,
doubt. No
yeah.
doubt. Yes, sir.
No doubt, sir.
Because otherwise it is a one-man show. I only.
No, no, sir. We are hearing.
No,
Okay.
sir.
So please simultaneously raise the question if you have, and because I
Sure.
cannot
Yes,
see that
sir.
who is speaking. You can. I can only see my screen. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So nice of you.
Thank
So
you, sir.
once the problem is defined, we will go to the next step. But in a market research, because as I say that I'm talking with reference to the market research because it is easy to understand. So in market research, there are two types of the problem identification and problem solving. For example, have you heard the name of the Keocarpine hair oil? It is
Yes,
the almond oil. It is
Yes,
saying that the quality is good,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
fragrance is good, okay, and the price is reasonable. But suddenly it is observed that the Keocarpine, the market sales drastically reduce. Now the issue is that why it is reduced. So that means you have to identify the problem. First, that the market sale is reduced. What is the reason for the reduction of this particular sales? So that is the identification of research. Another thing is that once the problem is identified, then you have a problem solving approach. The sales is down. Why it is down? That down because of certain reasons. Now how to tackle these reasons? Then there is a problem solving approach. So usually there are two types of the research in any field, either problem identification and problem solving. For example, in our setup, when we do the literature review, what we do, we try to identify the problem. And once we identify the appropriate problem, then what we do, we try to address the solution to the problem. So in our research, in a PhD research, we do both problem identification as well as the problem solving. So let us come back to that Keocarpine hair oil example. In that setup, what happened? The quality of the oil is very good. But the problem is that why then the sales is down? So of course, how the company get the information? So they get the information through the customer feedback. Now we are living in the era of the technology. So customer feedbacks, people are giving the online information that this is the problems we are facing. and that is how we have stopped by your product. But in the earlier stage, what happened? Whatever the problems you are facing, you will go to the corner shop and ask them, okay, we are getting this problem, the quality, or sorry, there is an issue with this particular hair oil, and that is how we are switching from one brand to other brand. So TCS and Nelson ORG Mark, these are all doing this kind of the study. They collect the information from the corner shop and they try to identify the stock movement. The stock movement, that how many items of specific FMCG product is sell, like chick shampoo, like hair oil of the Dabur, Keocarpine, Bajaj, likewise. So they do the stock analysis, and based on the stock analysis, they will convey this information to the company that your market segment will be this. Now, as it is identified that the market segment is low, why the market segment is low, even though everything is good? So the corner shop people will suggest that what are the issues faced by the customers, and that information they analyze. That may be of a qualitative, that may be of quantitative, and after analysis of that information, they should identify, okay, where exactly the problem. So it is identifying that the quality of the hair oil, price and everything was good, but because of the leakage problem of a hair oil bottle, people have stopped buying. Why? Because most of the people who traveling, they used to prefer this hair oil, Keocarpine hair oil, and they are coming with the small bottles, and because of that the leakage in the cap, what happened, that hair comes out from the bottle and it disturb or it create the problem with the cloths and others. Okay, so that is how, because of the leakage problem, the customer has stopped to buy. So this is not the problem of quality of the hair oil, this is the problem of the packing. So it has been identified that the packing is the issue. So where the packing is issue, where the bottle packing processing is going on. So they identify that yes, there is really a problem of a packaging, and they change the issue or solve the packaging issue. Once again, it has started capture the market. So sometimes we feel that in a research, oh, everything is good, why it is not getting the output? Sometimes in your research area, it may also happen. So 80% you can see, 20% you may not able to identify it. So your entire story or entire journey is to identify this 20%, because 80% are like a simple things, Pareto analysis. 80% of the problems is solved by solving the 20% of a problem. So once the problem is identified appropriately, your next approach is development toward to the problem. So development of an approach to the problem includes formulating an objective or theoretical framework, analytical models, research questions and hypotheses, and identifying information needed. It means that the main problem now you have to divide into the sub problems. And for each problem, you have to assign the certain objective. That objective, you have a specific hypothesis. And to address the specific hypothesis, you have a specific data collection methods. So in short, your main problem is now divided into the sub problem. And from that sub problems, you are design the specific hypothesis for each problem. And then you can try to search the answer of each hypothesis. This process is guided by discussion with the management and industry expert. Suppose it is the problem of Keocarpine hair oil. So to whom will you discuss this? Of course, management and industry experts. You can do the secondary data analysis. Then you can have idea. Qualitative research. You can have a discussion with the corner shop vendor, or you can have a discussion with the direct customers, so that you can have the idea what are the problems they are facing. So development of an approach to the problems is the second step, and that will be the completion of that we will go with the after completion of the first step. And the first step is a identification of a problem. Once the problem is identified, we have to divide the main problem into the sub problems, and for each problem we have a specific hypothesis. See, once you have identified the objectives, or you have listed out your objectives, okay, then now you have to design a blueprint. Okay, how to address this objective? What are the methodologies you are using to address this particular objective? So a research design, we call them as a research design. Third step is a research design formulation. A research design is a framework or a blueprint for conducting the marketing research project. So suppose if I wish to build a bridge, so I should have an entire design. What should be the completion time of that? How many employees or the contractors or how many laborers are required? How many or what quantity of the cement and the sand and other materials are required? So similarly, when you design your research, how many sub-objective to address the main question, main research problems, and for addressing each research problems, you should have a list out the procedure. What should be the step-by-step procedure to address this issue? It details the procedure for necessary for obtaining the required information, and its purpose is to design a study that will test the hypothesis of interest. So when you go for the research design, you should have an objective, you should have a hypothesis, and now the thing is that how to address this hypothesis. What is the mechanism and what is the procedure you should apply to address this hypothesis? That you have to list out everything. Determine possible answers to the research questions and provide the information needed for the decision making. Conducting exploratory research, precisely defining the variables. Exploratory research means you wish to explore something. Okay, there are different types of the research: exploratory research and conclusive research. So that we will discuss at the later part. Precisely defining the variables to address this particular objective. What are the variables we need to collect? Designing the appropriate scale to measure how this information or the variable having the scale or the what way the information is collected, whether on a 2-point scaling, 5-point scaling, 3-point scaling, likewise. And which research design are you going to use? The issue of how the data should be obtained from the respondent. So now the question is that once the questioners, or you can say that the research problems having the specific path is decided, then the next question is that how the data should be collected. Whether the data should be collected through the survey or experiment. So that you have to mention in the research design. As I said, that research methodology is the heart of the any research. So you should write everything, and that is how you are making your logbook. Whatever the experiment you are doing, you are recording everything. So your logbook should be very systematic, so that at the end of the day, you should have the systematic result. It is also necessary to design a questionnaires and the sampling plan to select respondents for the study. For example, it is of a survey research. Okay, then in the survey research, you have to design the questionnaires. Then again, the things is that how the questionnaire is designed, what should be the sampling design you have to use, whether the probability sampling scheme you have to use or non-probability sampling scheme, etc. More formally, formulating the research design involves the following points. Definition of the information needed, what you are trying to address, that you have to define properly. Then you do the secondary data analysis so that you can have the more idea. Third, you can do the qualitative research, or you can say that the focus group discussion. Here I would like to tell something. We did one project for the World Bank, and that project is associated with what is the break-even point of a milching animal. Milching animal means an animal which is giving the milk. Okay, so that means there are three different types of animals who are considered to be here the milching animals in their dairy business. One is a cow, second is buffalo, and third one is a crossbreed. Now, because I wish to identify the break-even point, how should I identify the break-even point? So it is saying that it is the input and output. So how will you say that input output? So you are saying that output is that amount of the price you receive by selling the milk. So you can say the sales is your output. And what is input? Input means all the cost associated to receive the milk. That is the cost of animal, that is the cost of shed where the animals are tied up, that is, cost of the land, simultaneously cost of the food, cost of vaccination, cost of the all the tools which are needed with the milk collection, cost of the labor. Many things are associated with that. Okay, cost of the calf. So this all the cost we have to collect the information, and then we have to identify what is the average cost per liter of a milk collection and what is the average sales price. And if the average sales price is greater than the average cost of a milk, then we say that the farmer is in the profit. Otherwise, farmer or the person who is in the dairy business is not happy with that business. So then that is how, if this is the scenario is happening, then government has to come with the subsidies. Government has to motivate the such people so that they should live in the business. Otherwise, who will collect the milk? So there are so many issues are there. But this data is not available. We have to directly go to the farmers and we have to ask them, see, what is your milk production of the morning and evening? How many kettles do you have which are giving the milk? What quantity of the food they are eating every day? Okay. What is the cost of medical on average per day? Is that something like that? You have to ask the question. But as you know that when we go to the people, what they do? Sir, बिल्कुल दूध नहीं दे रही है, हमारी तो हालत खराब है. उनको लगता है कि गवर्नमेंट से आया है, ऐसा बोलेंगे तो गवर्नमेंट की ओर से हमें स्कीम मिलेगी. So they are not giving the appropriate information. So what we do? Before going to our study, we go to the village and ask to the sarpanch or the person who is associated with the dairy business. We assemble them together and keep on asking the question. And we say that what should be the price of a animal whose age is of a 3 years. So somebody said that, sir, it is of a cow, then it is of a 40,000 rupees. Then somebody said, no, sir, it is 80,000. Somebody said it is a 30,000. So likewise, you will get the variety of answers. And then you have to again ask, this gentleman is saying that 30,000, you are saying 40, you are saying 70. Then what is the correct? Then you will identify the correct answer from them. So it will give the range of a price of a animal whose age is a 3 year. So when you go to the data collection, you will ask the farmer, suppose the farmer is giving the wrong information or incorrect information or modified information, then you can easily identify, because that range of the animal or the price of the animal, the range is given to you, that is available to you, and that is obtained through the qualitative research. And then you say that we know that the price will be lies between this to this, so kindly suggest the appropriate correct price, and then the farmer is giving the information. So these are all the, before going to the field, before going to your final study or the question data collection, you should have a qualitative research or the focus group discussion. That is what the focus group discussion experimental science people are doing by sitting. A few researchers are sitting together and they do the discussion. They come out that, okay, the range of the output should be lies between to this according to that. So that means if something is there, then automatically you should realize that something is missing in our experiment, and that is how we are not getting the information correctly. So that is how the focus group discussion is needed. So there is, as I say, that exploratory research, and there is a causal research and descriptive research. So in exploratory research, you are discovery of the ideas and insight. So this is your objective. And descriptive research, you can describe the market characteristics of the functions. And in a causal relationship, let us say you are trying to identify the relation between the two variables. That means one is under control and another variable is changing. So controlling variable is under the experimental science. So that is a kind of a causal research. And especially you can say that in causal research, the experiments is the usual method of causal research. In descriptive research, you can go for the survey base. And in exploratory research, you can either do the pilot survey, you can go for the expert surveys. That means you can meet the expert and ask the scenario. You can do the secondary data analysis. You can do the focus group discussion. So these are all done in the exploratory research. So you can have exploratory research with the conclusive research. Exploratory, it is just giving the tentative information. Conclusive, it is giving the final information. In conclusive, you are collecting the lots of the data, and then the research is based on that, and it is based on the primary, or here it is of maybe of a secondary data, or sometimes it is a primary, then it is of a qualitative data like focus group discussion. And it is just giving the exploratory research, giving the general ideas and general conclusion, but conclusive research is giving the final conclusion as input into the decision making. So once the focus group discussion and the various research segment is over, we talk about the measurement and the scaling procedure. As I say that we wish to go for the survey. So now I wish to collect the information. Let me say that after giving the azithromycin, whether the patient is recovered from the infection or not. So whether the patient is recovered or not, it is a 2-point scaling. There are either whether the patient is recovered or not recovered. Suppose you are talking about that, I would like to have a rating of the teachers on an online training. Then the HRDC may say that you give information on a 1 to 5-point scaling. 1 means the explanation was not sufficient, and 5 means the explanation is really sufficient, and the 3 means the neutral. So this is kind of the information you are measuring on a 5-point scaling. So based on the nature of the data, your scaling technique is decided, and based on the scaling techniques, your analysis technique is decided. So we will see one by one in detail. One of the important features of conducting any research is collection and organization of the data. So now the question is that what is the data? Because in our title it is a collection and organization of a data. Now the question is, what is the data? How we collect and how we organize. Statistics has its own vocabulary. Many of the terms that comprise statistical nomenclatures are familiar. Some commonly used in everyday language like sample, proportion, average, etc. Okay, before going to start this, how many of you have the knowledge of statistics? If no response, that means nobody is knowing statistics. Is it so? Am I audible or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
very good, very good.
It's a
Everyone is
little
alert
bit-
and listening carefully. Very
Yes,
good.
sir. Yes, sir. Sir, we have.
It's a kind of analysis.
So statistics is a kind of analysis.
Yes, sir.
Your branch is
Some medical imaging technology.
medical imaging technology. So you are from medical science. Anybody else?
Sir, we have basic knowledge, not that much in advance.
For example, basic means
Like a mean, median, and
okay. So you should have some information of the descriptive statistics. Okay.
yes, sir.
Anyone else? I think Hitesh is there. Hitesh is not responding.
Yes, sir.
Ah, the one
Sir.
guy from computer science, but having the lots of knowledge of statistics.
No, 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 not like, sir.
Okay. Any other? No. See,
Sir, we know little bit about
okay, because
and how
your
I
clarity and your information will always suggest the speaker to deliver the lectures according to that way. Otherwise, what happens? We feel that you know everything, and we will start with the hi-fi mathematics. Then you will be in the trouble. So honesty is a very important policy. If we don't know, then you can simply say that we don't know, because I am going to conduct 6 sessions. So if you are have the any knowledge, it's fine. If you do not have, don't worry, we'll start with that. Okay, so what I say that anybody is from you that who do not have the knowledge of statistics? Anyone?
sir, we all know the basic part, which is chemical tendency and probability t-test. That much, not more than that.
Okay, so none of you in this group is that they say, sir, we don't know statistics. So everyone know little bit. Okay.
Yes.
Statistics, we are using statistics in our day-to-day life. Like for example, just in the summer, there was a season of a mango. Okay. So whether the mango is of a good quality or not, so what we do? Can we eat entire box of mango and then we decide whether the box is good or bad while purchasing the mango? No. We take 1 or 2 mangoes and based on that the fragrance, whether it is of a sweet or sour. Okay. So we decide based on that. If it is of a sweet quality, we say that this mango quality is a good and we take the entire box for a home. So we take a sample from a population. Proportion. What is the rate of the recovery of the patient who suffered through the corona? So earlier rate was a 23%, then it is a 33, 29. Now it is saying that it is around 68%. So 0.68 is a proportion. 68% of the patients who suffered from the corona, they are recovered. Average. In day-to-day life, we are always talking about that what is the expected marks we are going to get in the upcoming examination of the pre-PhD coursework. Okay. What is the mileage of the specific vehicle? So these are all talking about the average. So what I mean to tell you that in day-to-day life, we are using the statistics, but we do not know that we are in fact using the statistics. So statistics is in your blood. Okay. If you ask the infant, a medical science person is there, he can suggest. If you ask the infant, can infant answer? No. But still infant has the knowledge of statistics. How? When the newborn baby or when the baby is born, doctor will prescribe the various kind of a syrup. That syrup is of a bitter quality and syrup is of a sweet quality. Now, when you give the first time that spoon of a syrup from a bottle of a sweet quality or the bitter quality, the infant has no idea about the taste of the quality of syrup. So it will take the baby, he or she, so I will say it is a it. So it will take. Now, if you give, once the baby has the idea about the fragrance, and if you are taking the spoon of a syrup from a sweet quality of the syrup bottle, what happens? What is the reaction of a baby? Baby will enjoy when you give another time. But if it is of a bitter quality, she will try to jump from the mother's hand. Why? Because it's of bitter quality. So baby has taken the sample of a population, and based on a single sample, the baby has decided whether the lot should be rejected or accepted. Getting my point? So that is the branch of a sampling. From a given a population, you try to take a sample, and from that sample information, you try to take the decision about the population, whether the population should, whether the lot should be accepted or rejected, whether should I buy the mango or not. So based on the sample, I can take the decision. Okay. So statistics, most of the people sometimes who is not from the science background, or sometimes for a science background, people have also misconcept that statistics is a subject of commerce. No, statistics is a subject of a pure science, where we develop a theories, and the commerce and other peoples are use that theory for their purpose. So statistics is a science of decision making, because the decision should be based on the availability of the data. So now the question is, what is data? So data is a collection of information. The information may be of a two type in nature, either quantitative or qualitative. So therefore, we categorize the data into the two part. One is qualitative and another is a quantitative. So data is a collection of information. Information may be of qualitative, information may be of a quantitative. So what is the qualitative information? Information, or you can say that there is no physical measurement tool is to measure the data, then such data is said to be a qualitative data. For example, if I wish to measure the height of the respondent, then if I wish to measure the height of the respondent, then how should I measure? You all are science people, at least you should answer this.
Quantitative, sir.
How will you measure?
Using the quantitative, we can measure the measured data.
But yes, measure tape. That means some measurement tool is there to measure the height of the respondent. So when some measurement tool is there to measure the respondent or the height of respondent, then such data is said to be a quantitative data. Suppose if I wish to measure the weight of the individual, then weighing machine. If I wish to measure whether the patient have a temperature or not, so temperature is measured in a Celsius or Fahrenheit. So you can have the thermometer is with you. So when there is a physical measurement tool is there to measure the data, then such data is said to be a quantitative data. But if we do not have a such physical measurement tool, then such data is said to be a qualitative data. For example, whether the patient is cured or not. Can you measure if the patient having this many kilogram, then weight is this many kilogram, then patient is recovered? Nothing like that. So patient is recovered or not, types of a brand, types of a company, types of a kettle, name of the various university, your social security number, your passport number, these all are the qualitative information, because there is no physical measurement tool is there to measure the data. Gender of the respondent, male, female or transgender. So these are all qualitative information. Whether do you like this particular online program or not, yes or no. Okay, so these are all qualitative information. So information may be of a two types, qualitative or quantitative. If it is a qualitative, then again it is classified into the two parts. One is nominal and second one is a ordinal. What is nominal? A nominal information is a kind of information. It is simply to identify the label. For example, you may have given the roll numbers of a pre-PhD coursework. So your roll number is a nominal data. Who is roll number 5? So no roll number is given, is it?
No, sir.
Yes, sir. No.
Okay. So because you are not signing and digital sign is not allowed. Okay. So roll number is a common example. Your social security numbers is a common example. If you assign the label like male for the 1 and female for the 2, okay. If you assign the university 1 for the Sardar Patel University, 2 for the Gujarat University, 3 for, it is simply a label. Nothing is ranking associated with that. So when a data which is simply a label to identify the object, then such data is said to be a nominal data. So what about ordinal? So of course, if you add something in a nominal data, then your data become the ordinal. If you add the magnitude ordering property in the data, then your data become the ordinal. For example, if the accidents occur and the patient is hospitalized, the doctor will take the decision whether the injury is a minor, moderate, or severe. If it is a severe, immediately the patient is shifted to the operation theater. So it is the perception of the doctors whether the injury is a minor, moderate, or severe. So when I am talking about perception, that means I am talking about the experience of the doctor is saying that the injury is minor, moderate, or severe. Again, it is simply a label to identify the object, but there is a magnitude of ordering property associated with the nominal data, and then such data is said to be a ordinal data. So injury, types of injury, whether the injury is a low, whether the injury is a moderate, or whether the injury is a high. So low, medium, and high, or moderate, high, are the simply a label to identify the object, and they are all qualitative in nature, but that information are ordinal in nature. So such data is said to be a ordinal data. Then quantitative data is further classified into two parts. One is the interval data and second one is a ratio data. What is interval data? It is a quantitative data, but the difference between two categories is known and equal, then such data is said to be a interval data. For example, if I am saying your preference of buying any product, so first preference you will give, let us say there are 5 products are there, you will buy the product 1 having the preference 3, product 2 having the 1, likewise. So you can have your own preference of buying the product. So preference of buying the product is nothing but the example of a ordinal data. But if I am saying that give the rating of the teacher on an online module of training on a 1 to 5 scale, where 1 means the lecture was not effective, 5 means it is really effective, 3 means it is a on average. So what is the difference between 1 and 2 is remain same as the difference between 2 and 3. That is the perception of the student remain the same between 1 and 2 and between 2 and 3. So when the difference between two categories are known and equal, then such data is said to be a interval data. So when we go for the Likert scale, sometimes in a medical science what happens, the patient has given the drugs, and after giving the drugs to the patient, if you go and ask that how do you feel, and if it is associated with the college, if the doctor will ask no issue, patient will reply very gently, and then the nurse will ask how will you feel, then again the patient will reply gently, then the resident doctors come, then patient will reply gently, and then the graduate students one by one coming and asking what happened. So up to the certain period of the time the patient is replying, and then the patient becomes angry. Okay, so in such cases you cannot ask everything to the patient, so you have to have some method of collection of information by looking at the face of the patient after giving the dose. If the patient face was having the happiness mood, like emojis, you are making the various emojis, then you say that there is a positive impact of the drug on the patient. If the patient becomes the dull, there is a negative impact. Likewise, you can have the different kind of emojis you can use, and that emoji will help you by identifying the patient face. You can tick mark the specific emojis, it is giving the scale. So such kind of data is also covered under the interval scale. But the interval scale has the demerit. What is the demerit? The demerit of the interval scale is that 0 is arbitrary. Means 0 is not fixed. If I am saying that today the temperature is a 0 degree, will you say that the temperature is 0 degree? That means there is no temperature. Because I am saying that 0 degree, it means there is no temperature. Anyone from chemistry? What do you mean by the 0 degree temperature? Can you say that there is no temperature? Is there anyone from chemistry or not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so please reply.
0 degree temperature is also a temperature, sir.
Very good. So 0 degree temperature is also a temperature. That means 0 is not fixed. You can
Yes.
measure on either Kelvin or you can measure on a Fahrenheit. So here
Yes.
0 is not fixed. So that is how we require to develop a new scale where 0 is fixed. For example, height 0 means 0, weight 0 means 0 with reference to earth. फिर चांद पे जाके मत बोलिएगा कि सर हमारा यहाँ वेट इतना है तो चांद पे इतना होता है, इतना का टेम्परेचर है. तो in ratio scale with reference to the earth, 0 height means 0, weight 0 means 0. So 0 is fixed. So all financial ratios are considered into the or cover under the ratio category. So in short, whenever you have the any kind of the data comes to you, you first try to identify whether data is a qualitative or quantitative. If it is a qualitative, it is of a nominal or ordinal. If it is a quantitative, it is of a interval or ratio. Why it is very important? Because all statistical techniques were developed with respect to the measurement of scale. One cannot use statistical techniques like t-test, ANOVA for qualitative response. It is applicable only if response measured in a quantitative scales. For example, if you are saying that the temperature of the patient, so it is measured in a quantitative scale, and there are 3 different types of the paracetamol tablets are there. Now, which paracetamol tablets is really help to control the temperature of the patient? So likewise, we have a response is a temperature which is quantitative, and there are 3 drugs are given or the brands of the drugs are given, and we wish to see that whether all the drugs are effective or not. So our basic statement is that all are equally effective, and then we try to identify which one is more effective compared to others. So in such case, we can use the analysis of variance. Okay, when the data response variable is a quantitative in nature. If it is a qualitative, we cannot use, and that is how we should be very careful while selecting the nature of the scale of the data. Appropriate statistical techniques and appropriate graph for appropriate data. So if you remember this table, especially while analyzing the basic statistics, you will not find any difficulties. So what is the nominal data? So common examples is the gender, color, region, and what is the definition? The definition of nominal data is that it is simply a label to identify the object. What kind of the descriptive statistics you can use? Frequency, percentage, and mode. Okay, how many males are in the pre-PhD groups? How many females are in the pre-PhD groups? What percentage of the female have participated in this course? And who is maximum, either male or female? So that is called the mode. So whenever you have a nominal data, you can use descriptive statistics that, and inferential statistics like binomial test and chi-square test, etc. We will see in detail when we come to the about the testing of hypothesis, because I am going to cover that part. And I'm also going to discuss descriptive statistics when I will introduce the R language, and we will learn the descriptive statistics through the R language. And when we have the ordinal data, so common example is the types of injury, socioeconomic status. Okay, and because the data are ordinal, we can use the median and percentile as a descriptive statistics. Make sure you can use above also. So as the scale is developed, you can also use the previous things, provided that you have to just transform the data according to scale. Suppose if it is of interval and ratio data, you can use this, but provided you have to convert them into the either nominal and ordinal data. This inferential statistics like Spearman rank correlation, Kruskal-Wallis test, Friedman test, etc. And when interval data, the data collection on a 5-point scale, you can use mean, variance, standard deviation, etc. as a descriptive statistics. You can also use range over here. Inferential statistics are t-test, ANOVA, regression, factor, etc. And when it is of a ratio data, you can use common example are the height and weight, and you can use the descriptive statistics as the geometric and harmonic mean. And for inferential, you can use the coefficient of variation. So these are all techniques. Then you have to understand and learn the techniques for the detailed purpose. But the thing is that if you know the right measurement scale of the data, you can identify the right technique. And once you can identify the right technique, you can learn the right technique. It is like that identification of a problem is very important. If we have identified the wrong problem, then our track will be the different. So similarly, if we have identified the correct data, then we can proceed accordingly. Okay, so similarly, for a various kind of the scales are there for a comparative scale and non-comparative scale. So I talk about the Likert scale, and there are semantic and the staple scale are there. Similarly, non-comparative scale, balance versus not balance, odd versus even, force versus non-force, nature of degree of verbal description, and physical form of configuration. But we will not see in that detail. Just for the sake of giving the idea, I have kept this slide. Once the measurement of scale is decided, you have to design a questionnaire. So questionnaire is either of a structured questionnaire or unstructured. For example, structured means if I will ask your first question, what is your name? Then second question is that where you are living. Third question is that what you are studying. So it is a chronological, you are asking the questions. So these are all said to be a structured question. Suppose if I am saying that, do you have the laptop? Everyone, I'm asking,
Yeah.
do you have the laptop?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The
Yes,
next
sir.
question is that which company's laptop do you have?
HP.
Dell.
Lenovo.
Lenovo.
Okay.
HP.
Then whether your laptop is a old or recently purchased.
Recent.
The next question for the who has old, whether would you like to buy a new laptop in a near future?
No.
No, sir. No, sir.
No. If no, do you have the problem of the financially? Bank will give you that EMI level. Would you like to buy?
No.
तो नहीं खरीदना अच्छी बात है. But the thing is that these are the structured question. When you ask the one question, immediately whether it is a no or yes, you can have the separate question for them. So these are said to be a structured question, and through that way you can reach to your final objective. Ultimately, your objective is that you wish to sell the laptop. So to which segment I should contact so that I can have a maximum sale of a laptop. तो भाई ये सेगमेंट अभी पता चल रहा है कि टीचर्स को आप टारगेट कीजिए, क्योंकि टीचर्स के पास अगर लैपटॉप नहीं है और बताया कि ऑनलाइन टीचिंग करना है, मोबाइल फोन से बच्चों की आंखों में दर्द होता है, तो एनी हाउ आपको कंप्यूटर चाहिए चाहिए चाहिए. तो क्या करेंगे टीचर्स? दे विल बाय द लैपटॉप. तो देखेंगे कि ईएमआई में कोई दे रहा है, क्योंकि अभी सैलरी तो सबको पूरी नहीं मिल रही है, ठीक है, जिसके हिसाब से कल ही बताया कि ऑनलाइन स्कूल का बंद करेंगे टीचिंग, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. So the questionnaire should be like that in a structured or unstructured way. It may be simple and it may be logical. Straight away you ask the question and collect the information. It is simple, but the way I told you, it is a logical questions. Each questions for each purpose. Whatever the questions you are designing, it has the specific purpose. Unnecessary if you are asking many things to the respondent, then respondent will not give the answer. And still, if you are insisting more, the respondent will give the incorrect answer, and which has no meaning. So you have to motivate the questioners, motivate the respondents. So your question should be framed in a such a way that respondent should be motivated to give the answers. You can think that whatever the projects I told you about the World Bank, about the break-even point analysis, we made the questionnaire of a 10 pages. And that information we have to take from the farmers without paying anything to him. So see how it is very difficult. And again, it is of a 10 pages, but when I have coded into the SPSS and R files, it is around 600 variables. And then again, we have to logically check, because in the one segment we are asking, and then in the third segment we are verifying whether first segment he has given the correct answer or not. So these are very important. Once your questionnaire is prepared, your next task is that you can go for the pilot study. Whatever the questionnaires which I have framed, whether it is convenient by the respondent or not, whether they are easily able to understand or not, whatever the response they are giving, am I interested in that kind of response or not? So for that you should go for the pilot study. And you can also assess the reliability and validity of the scale. You can reduce the number of questions through the reliability and validity of the scale. So once the standard questionnaire is designed, your next task is that sampling process, because now you have to go to the field. So to whom you are going to contact? Field में किसके पास जाएंगे? किसके पास जाएंगे फील्ड में?
फार्मर्स.
जैसे मैं अभी वो स्टडी की बात कर रहा हूं, तो हमारे में कौन है? फार्मर. लेकिन what here the specification, they said that we are only interested to study the small farmer and marginal farmer. Now then we have to understand what is the small farmer and marginal farmer. A farmer having the milch animals less than or equal to 2, they are said to be a small farmer, and who have the animals more than 2 and less than or equal to 5, they are called marginal farmers. So that means we have to constitute only the population of these people. Getting my point? We have to consider only the population of these people. So that means population means जिसका मुझे study करना है. So consist of all subjects that are being studied. All units are distinguished. मतलब फार्मर सब अलग अलग होने चाहिए, एंड सभी के सभी क्या होने चाहिए? फार्मर ही होने चाहिए. और कैसे फार्मर? कि जिसके पास या 2 एनिमल्स है या 2 से 5 के बीच में है. So I will constitute the group, and that group is said to be my population. So a population तो बोला उन्होंने, they told us that you have to study the 6,000 farmers. From each state you have to take the 1,500 farmers, and that further divide into the 3 different district. From each district you have to take the 500. And they further say that where the dairy is there, so you have to take the certain sample from that. Where the dairy is not there, you have to take the certain sample from that. So likewise, you have to divide your population, and you have a subgroup, and from each group you have to take the samples. So what is the sample? Sample is a part of population or group of subject selected from a population. Suppose if I wish to establish the agency of Maruti Benz dealership, and And should I take agency of Mercedes-Benz in the Anand district? Suppose आपके पास 1 करोड़ रुपए आ गए, will you take agency of Mercedes-Benz?
No,
Yes.
sir.
Yes.
No, sir. No, sir. No.
No, sir.
How
No, sir.
can we decide it? Directly.
Because the demand is not up to the mark.
We will not
Demand
get
is not
good number
up
of
to the-
customers in Anand.
We can purchase one.
Okay, so can I ask the lady who said yes? Why yes? I try to convert it more possible as the physical, क्योंकि क्लासरूम में हम ऐसे ही डिस्कस करते हैं. बताइए. ओके, चलो मैं बताता हूँ. The answer is either yes, nor, or no. Before going to take the decision, we have to do the study. So what is the average price of the simple model of the Mercedes-Benz? Let us say it is at 30 lakh. So how many people in this region who can afford the 30 lakh Mercedes-Benz, the cost of a car? So that means you have to identify the segment of the people. So who can afford, whose income is, let us say, monthly more than 5 lakh, they may afford it. So then you have to identify that how many people who have the monthly income in the Anand district is more than 500. So if you ask anybody, are they answer you? No. So from where you have to identify this? So you have to see that what is their house size. There are certain area which is considered to be posh area. You go to that. What is the value of the land? How many people are working in that organization? How many different cars are there? And IT returns and many things are together. So you can decide this gentleman has the average income per month is more than 5 lakh. And if the proportion is high, then we can think. If the proportion is low, then we cannot. Okay, we can take the Maruti agency. We can take the Hyundai agency. Because in this region, most of the teachers are living. Of course, industrialists are there. But it is not the large scale industries are there. These are all the small scale and the middle scale industries are there. Okay, so based on that, you have to take the decision whether should I take the agency or not. So in short, you have to design your population. Once your population is designed, you have to take a sample from a population. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Then
sir.
now the population is decided that let us say 100 respondents are in my population. Out of 100, I have to select only 10. Suppose today I am very happy. I really enjoy the lectures and I would like to give the ice cream party to the 2 gentlemen from your class or gentle lady. वरना झगड़ा हो जाएगा. Okay. So 2 gentlemen or 2 gentle lady, or it's a mix of that. So whom should I give? There are 52 PhD scholars in your group and all are equally likely because all are doing pre-PhD. No one is the small and no one is the big. All are at the same platform. And as a teachers, I am teaching on online computing, so I do not visualize your face. I know 1 or 2 students, no, not more than. So if I am in select the only 2 person, then with okay, I know these 2 person, I will give the ice cream party. So what happened? I have made the bias. Sir, this is the bias. You know these 2 gentlemen, and that is how you have given the party to them. So we have also equal right because we belong to the same class. So when to avoid this bias in statistics, there is a concept of a probability sampling design is given. So what I do, I will do the lottery method. I will keep your name in a specific sheet, which are of the same color, equally likely folded, and keep in the box. And then I will select the randomly 2 sheet, and then I will give them party. So that is the concept of a simple random sampling. In a group of a sheet, I will select the 2. That means the sample size is a small n, that is 2, and population size is a 52. So then there is a no bias. Or I will suggest the computer, you give me the 2 random numbers, and I will give the ice cream party to that. So there is no bias. Now in simple random sampling, again it is divided in 2 parts. One is a simple random sampling with replacement, and there is a without replacement. If I select the first sheet, note down the name, and again I will put it back, assign into the box, there is a chance that this same sheet may selected again. So 2 ice cream to the 1 gentleman or gentle lady. So that is the concept of a simple random sampling with replacement. And if I select and keep aside the sheet, and then I will select another sheet, then it is said to be a simple random sampling without replacement. So with replacement, my population is infinite, though it is a finite, but you can draw the infinite draw. And in a without replacement, though the population is finite and the draws are also finite. Then there is a systematic sampling. If there is a heterogeneity present in your data, then there is a concept of a stratified sampling. If you wish to select a group of the people who are living in the same multi-story building, so it is a kind of a cluster sampling. Similarly, if you select the village from the tehsil and tehsil from the district, so it is a 2-state sampling, and district from the state and state from the nation, so it is a multi-state sampling. Okay, so these are all the probability sampling scheme where each and every individual has the equal chance to receive the treatment or getting the ice cream. However, non-probability sampling scheme is that convenience sampling scheme. I need a 2 person who is sitting in the first bench. I will select them. Or you can say that I wish to select the 50 respondents, okay, who are working in the research field. So I will go to the pre-PhD course program and ask this 50 gentlemen, please give the information. So it is all convenience sampling scheme. Then you can select the respondent based on the judgment. So they are said to be a judgmental sampling scheme. To complete your quota, for example, if you are going into the shopping mall and your quota is that you have to collect respondent of 100 person. So whoever 100 first come to you, you just collect that information from that. Your quota of 100 is over, your job is done. Snowball sampling scheme is a kind of a sampling scheme who is affected, especially let us say if you are talking about the sensitive kind of a survey, then what will you do? If suppose somebody is affecting from the let us say severe disease, let us say corona. So if the gentleman is not detected, okay, then do you have the idea that the gentleman is corona or not? Suppose if the gentleman has the corona, you will ask them, okay, who is like you others. So he has the entire profile with the others. Oh, मुझे कोरोना हुआ है, वो सामने वाले घर में ना उसको भी हुआ है, फिर उसके नीचे भी हुआ है लेकिन वो बोल नहीं रहा है. So these are all the snowball sampling. Once sample you have to identify randomly, and that first sample will suggest you to collect the information from the others. The person who is suffering from the AIDS, you will ask somebody, are you suffering from AIDS or not? Nobody is responding. But if a person who is suffering from the AIDS, he has his own community. So he will suggest, sir, there is another person who is like me. Something like that. So these are all the concept of a snowball sampling scheme. And then you have to design entirely plan of data analysis, what kind of the data analysis you wish to perform, whether you wish to do the frequency analysis, cross-tabulation analysis, t-test. We will see that all the things in detail. One sample t-test, independent pair t-test. So why the specific test is required, what was the objective, what was the nature of the data, etc. So you have to entirely decide first. See, data collection करने के बाद plan नहीं करना है. You have to plan first, and then you have to go for the data collection. And you have to go for the data collection. So data may be of a personal interviewing, or you can collect through the computer assisted survey, or you can through traditional mail, or you can send the questionnaire to the internet and people will respond. But in all the case, proper selection, training and supervision evaluation in the field force are very important to minimize the data collection errors. कई बार हम क्या करते हैं, इंटरनेट पे भेज देते हैं, फिर हमारे पास डेटा आता है, उसकी क्वालिटी नहीं होती, क्योंकि आपने जिस ढंग से क्वेश्चन बनाया है सामने वाला वो समझ ही नहीं रहा है. So that is how the best way is that personal interviewing method is the best way to collect the right information. Okay, or if you cannot reach, you can train others who can collect information for you, so that it can minimize the data collection errors. There is a one talk on the sampling. The Muralidharan sir will discuss about that, and that is associated with the sampling errors. So he will talk about the probability sampling, sampling error and non-sampling error, etc. And then once the data is in your head, convert into the computer structure, and then do the analysis as per the plan, prepare the report, make the graphs, and present in terms of the management via PPT presentation, जो हम PhD defense में करते हैं, and then it will address the problem. So you have to present a paper. The report should be prepared and presented in a such a way that it should address the each questions which you had asked at the first part. Okay. So I think we should keep up to this. Data visualization part I will cover in the next part. Okay. Any question? Anyone?
Okay, sir.
Sir, I have one question.
I think 1.5 hour, 3 hour, or sorry, 1.5 hour is over. So
Yes,
we will see the data visualization part in the next lecture. While introduction to that, it's very simple. What are the different graphs we have to make? Whether it is a bar chart, whether it is a pie chart, whether it is a line chart, whether it is a Ozai curve, okay, whether it is a box plot or not. So these all the charts we will have also in the further. So don't worry, we will cover. Any questions so far?
Sir, may I have one question? Can I?
No, that is, there are only two possibilities. Either you know, you understand everything,